So this comes back to, well, why do you need to know all this intellectual property stuff? Well, how do you do this? It's actually, this is where using and understanding the legal system becomes a tool. And it becomes a tool that allows you to shape these communities in the way that you'd like. So, just sort of the 101 on that for most of this stuff is really in the area of copyright law, right? And just for a quick review, patents protect ideas, copyrights are their expression, and trademarks are what you call them, right? And by the way, just because I get an opportunity to say this to you and you go, huh? If you don't, but if you have a patent on something, you don't have the right to make that thing. Did you hear what I said? If you have a patent on it, you don't have the right to make it. It gives you the right to exclude somebody else from making it. That's all a patent does. It's very powerful. All right? But the reason why you don't have a right is because you may read on somebody else's patents and thus cross-licenses. Copyrights are the expression of ideas. So that's like code, right? That's a good example of an expression. If you look at open source software, what the central mechanism for creating a community around that is a license. And the license is what you put in the preamble of the software. It's in the comments section of the code and things. That license is covered by copyright law. It says basically the license gives you a set of rules, like you may have to propagate this license, maybe you have to put back any changes that you've made or modifications or improvement, and may or may not deal with patents, depending on which license. It may say that, boy, if you're using this code and you want to keep using it, then you can't prosecute anybody on any patents that you have. And essentially, if you violate the license, you violate copyright law, and that allows people to go after you for copyright violations. So this is all about the freedom of sharing code, and that creates communities. One of the sort of the surprising thing is that model can be used to create communities in all kinds of ways. We've taken our Spark microprocessor code, which is hardware, but for anyone who's done hardware, you know that in fact it looks a lot like writing code. And we've taken the description of that hardware and actually placed it out, and it built growing and growing communities out, starting with universities in academic settings, as well as companies that are adopting this code and building products from it. Here's some other interesting examples of this. This is a startup chocolate company in San Francisco who's on the mission of making obsessively good chocolate, chocolates. That may appeal to people in here. They run it as an open source model in a very interesting way. The center of this is, hey, we don't really have much understanding or insight into even what people's flavor preferences around chocolate. Right? All you have is like the amount of cacao in the chocolate. How dark is it? Which is really like saying how much alcohol is in wine. Right? That may be a preference, but it probably doesn't describe the, whether you're going to like wine or not. So they've developed this through user feedback of beta chocolate, this flavor wheel that has like 6 different kind of broad flavor areas in it, and they refine, you refine your palate, and they refine, the preferences of people about where the particular mixtures from beans from particular parts of the world end up. And so they beta test these things, and now they have 1.0 chocolate, and there's a bigger story there too about networks that they create. Here's another interesting one that is in a social sense interesting is there's a project called the Open Prosthetics Project that is basically after it started with how for people who have prosthetic arms is a lot of them have this thing called a Trotman hook that was no longer manufactured, but everybody has to figure out how they're going to maintain it, how can they reproduce it, how can they improve it. And this is just a community of people who have come together to go share mechanical engineering designs and to sort of move forward the whole state of the art in prosthetics. And it's a very interesting example of building these communities in the mechanical engineering sense of things.